Bisping vs. Hamill. UFC 75 lit up London's O2 Arena as Michael Bisping, Britain's hometown star, walked in to face American wrestler Matt Hamill. From the opening round, Hamill imposed his will, landing clean jabs, heavy takedowns, and dominant top control. He mauled Bisping in the opening 10 minutes, silencing the crowd. In round 3, Bisping finally rallied, landing combinations and kicks to the roar of his supporters. Still, most observers had the fight scored 2-1 for Hamill, and some gave him all 3. Then came the announcement. Bruce Buffer read, 29-28 Hamill on one card, 29-28 Bisping on another, and 29-28 Bisping on the final. Split decision, winner Michael Bisping. UFC 75 remains proof that location and crowd presence sometimes mattered more than the fight itself. Shogun vs. Machida. In October 2009, the Staples Center in Los Angeles was alive with anticipation as the UFC declared the beginning of what they called the Machida era. Lyoto Machida had just captured the light heavyweight belt with his flawless karate stance and elusive counterstriking, looking untouchable. Shogun Rua, the former Pride star known for ruthless violence, was the man tasked with testing this new reign. From the opening moments at UFC 104, Rua battered Machida's lead leg with thudding kicks, each one echoing through the arena. He kept pressing forward, landing body kicks and heavy punches that visibly bruised Machida's ribs and weakened his movement. Round by round, the pattern continued, Shogun chopping, Machida countering, but never taking control. By the 4th, commentators were openly leaning Shogun as the clear victor. After 5 rounds, the challenger raised his hands, confident the belt was his. But when Bruce Buffer read the decision, it was unanimous. 48-47 Machida on all 3 cards. Boos reigned instantly. Fans were furious. Media outlets almost unanimously scored it for Rua. Even UFC President Dana White admitted publicly that Shogun was robbed. The outrage forced the UFC to book an immediate rematch, and 6 months later, Rua removed all doubt by knocking Machida out cold in the first round. But the first fight was immortalized. UFC 104 became one of the sport's most baffling examples of how 3 scorecards could ignore visible damage and fan consensus, a robbery etched into MMA history. Henderson vs. Thompson. This time in Chicago, and even without a belt. On January 25, 2014, UFC on Fox 10 hosted Benson Henderson against Josh Thompson. It wasn't a title fight, but it still belongs on every robbery list. In round 1, Thompson broke his right hand, a devastating handicap against an elite opponent. But he fought on anyway, surprising the crowd and commentators with resilience, landing takedowns, controlling positions, and threatening Henderson's back on multiple occasions. Henderson landed flashy strikes here and there, eye-catching kicks and flurries, but Thompson's wrestling and cage control seemed to rule the night. By round 5, even analysts at cage side whispered that this was Thompson's fight. When the decision was read, unanimous for Henderson, the arena erupted in boos. Fans raged online, media scores overwhelmingly sided with Thompson, and even Henderson looked sheepish post-fight, raising his hands without conviction. The message was clear. Benson Henderson had become decision-proof. Every close fight tilted his way. For fans, lightweight judging was broken, and Thompson walked away with nothing but anger and a broken hand. Georges St-Pierre vs. Johnny Hendricks. November 16, 2013, Las Vegas, Nevada. UFC 167. The UFC was celebrating its 20th anniversary, and Georges St-Pierre, already the most dominant welterweight in history, stood across from his hardest challenge yet, Johnny Hendricks, a former All-American wrestler with vicious knockout power in his left hand. From the opening bell, Hendricks walked down the great champion. Round 1 saw uppercuts rock GSP's head back. The Canadian survived, but wobbled. Round 2, Hendricks stormed forward, unleashing hell. Left hands, elbows, and combinations painted GSP's face in bruises. The crowd gasped as the great champion looked broken. Round 3, GSP fought back with trademark jabs, takedowns, and heart. He clawed momentum back, but Hendricks still landed bombs that snapped his head and kept the story tight. Rounds 4 and 5 painted a tense narrative. GSP showed championship spirit, pushing forward to recover, while Hendricks slowed slightly but still landed punishing blows. When the final bell sounded, Hendricks wore a calm smile, convinced his name was about to be called. Then Bruce Buffer read the decision. Split decision, and still the champion, Georges St-Pierre. The MGM grand exploded, and not in applause. Boos reigned, gasps echoed. Fans and analysts alike were stunned. Dana White slammed the judges during the press conference. Johnny Hendricks won that fight. Condit versus Diaz. Then came UFC 143, one of the most divisive nights in welterweight history. On February 4, 2012, Las Vegas hosted a clash between Carlos, the natural-born killer Condit, and Stockton brawler Nick Diaz for the interim welterweight title. The styles promised war. Condit, a balanced technician with sharp kicks, against Diaz, an overwhelming pressure fighter who weaponized volume and constant forward motion. From the first bell, though, it was a frustrating chess match for fans. Diaz stalked Condit relentlessly, slapping his hands down, talking trash, trying to bait him into a brawl. Condit refused, circling and landing leg kicks, jabs, and combos. By round 2, boos filled the MGM Grand. To Diaz's loyal Stockton army, Condit was running. To Condit's fans, it was brilliant stick-and-move strategy. Through 5 rounds the pattern held, Diaz pressing, Condit circling, bouncing in and out with precision shot selection. When the decision was read as a unanimous nod for Condit, Diaz stormed away, declaring, "I don't want to play this game no more. I'm done." Fans erupted across forums, declaring it either a masterclass or a travesty. The split divided the fan base viciously. Aggression against technical point fighting. Violence versus strategy. Condit wore the interim belt, but forever bore the stigma of the runner. Diaz saw his mythos grow as fans painted him the victim. UFC 143 didn't just crown an interim champion. It lit one of the ugliest fan base civil wars ever. A cultural divide that still ignites passions whenever Condit's or Diaz's name is mentioned. Jones versus Reyes. At UFC 247 in Houston, another robbery was written into light heavyweight lore. John Jones, arguably the greatest to ever step into the cage, entered as champion against undefeated challenger Dominic Reyes. On February 8, 2020, Reyes stormed into the Toyota Center fearless. From the opening bell, he overwhelmed Jones with speed and confidence. He landed crisp left hands, staggered the champion with body shots, and pressed forward with combinations in the first 3 rounds. By most accounts, Reyes had bagged 3 straight frames. Then the tide turned. In rounds 4 and 5, Jones dug into his championship heart, pushing forward, foot stomps, kicks to the body, elbows in the clinch. Reyes slowed noticeably, his gas tank drained. The last 2 rounds belonged to Jones. Still, the math was clear for fans and most analysts. 3 rounds to Reyes, 2 to Jones. When the scorecards were read, however, the verdict was unanimous for Jones, with one judge even inexplicably awarding him 4 of 5 rounds, 49-46. The arena erupted in disbelief. Media outlets scored overwhelmingly for Reyes, and social media roared with cries of champion's bias. The idea spread that you couldn't just beat a UFC champion on points. You had to dominate him outright.
Emotions going through your head right now?
Disappointment,